Hey everyone, it's me, Matt. Obviously, by this point, I would assume you know it's my voice. I mean, I don't know how else it would be, and I feel like I had a better joke for that, but I don't. So, but welcome back to another episode of the BandShowCase episodes. This brought to you by the Punk Rock Core podcast. Today, I had the awesome band Almataha on, and I got to talk to Bella and Benny, and this was kind of a defining moment for the podcast because this was our very first somewhat underage band that has come on the podcast, and it was awesome to talk to them and learn some of the struggles that being an underage band has to go through when it comes to playing certain venues. And it, overall, it was just really cool, and it kind of brought me back to my youth when I got into punk, and when they talk about how they got into punk. And you know what, I can do all this talking and tell you guys about the interview, but how about I just let you listen to the interview? I think that's a lot more solid of a plan. So with that being said, let's check out my interview with Almataha. Welcome everyone back to the Punk Rock Core podcast, BandShowCase episode number 8, where we bring on small, upcoming underdog bands who deserve that spotlight, and we give that spotlight to them. Today I am joined by Almataha with Bella and Benny. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you for having us, man.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
I was getting there, so I was like, don't say Almataha again. Don't say Almataha again. Like, when we had a Freak Show Cinema come on, like, I almost called them Frick Show Cinema. Oh, God. So, yeah, thank you for coming on the show. This is a first because you guys are our very first, kind of underage, band. I don't want to say underage because when I say underage, I always think, like 10 and 13. So that'd be kind of, tell us about your latest SpongeBob song. I don't know.
We should write a SpongeBob song.
Yeah, why haven't we?
That's a good question.
So you guys are a local Colorado band, up and coming, and I have listened to some of your music, and it's very solid. It reminds me of very early, I want to say, mixture of Black Flag and maybe even some Sex Pistols in there too. That's how it comes off to me. I don't know if that's accurate, but would you agree with that statement?
I mean, yeah, it's just however you interpret it.
Me personally, I haven't been in the band for that long. I've only been in this band for about a month now.
Okay. And
I've been to all the shows though, and the way that I've always kind of pictured the music is a lot like it's a very it has a doom feel to it, in my opinion.
Right.
And that's how I've always kind of listened to it as.
Yeah, we're kind of just we don't want to be metal, but we're kind of punk and a little bit of metal. But we're writing new songs too, and those are kind of more doom, punk doomy. So.
I feel like a lot of our new songs are pretty hardcore too.
Yeah.
A lot of really good breakdowns that I'm really enjoying.
Well, already you got a very hardcore catalog. I mean, I was listening through your album, and I was like, "There's no way these guys are underage. You're kidding me!" and I mean that as a compliment because it's really impressive. I mean, it's you do walk that fine line with writing really hardcore stuff of not trying to sound too metal, but I think it's hard not to do that at the same time. I mean, I guess a good example would be when Metallica, way back in the day, covered Anti-Nowhere League with So What?
Oh, yeah.
And it fit well, so, but I hear where you're coming from with the doom, and I agree. You guys definitely have that type of sound when you listen to your music. So, speaking of your music, and speaking of Almataha, where did the name come from, and how do you guys usually go about when it comes to writing?
So our old guitarist, my stepdad, we started the band together, and it was just a project for me and him, so he could show me how to start a band and just the ropes of it. And he came up with the name The Maze, or Almataha means the maze, and he just wanted it to be the maze, but in some other language, so it could be edgier.
Right.
So as he puts it, there are already a bunch of bad EDM bands called The Maze, so he had to go into translator. So he just translated it to Arabic, and he chose The Maze because he just thinks the maze represents everybody. We're all in the maze, we're all lost, we're all figuring our way through life.
Nice. I didn't know we were in EDM.
I didn't know we weren't EDM either.
Well, now you can always step into that market if you really want to.
Yeah.
So your writing process, you touched a little bit on it, that, you guys like to write hardcore stuff, doom kind of stuff here and there, and that's how it comes off. But is there a process you normally go through when it comes to writing a song? Do you have an idea of what you want to write, or are you just kind of spitballing? Because for some artists that does work for them until it gains traction and goes somewhere.
Yeah, so with our first album, our guitarist just had a bunch of riffs that... So he was in a phase where he wasn't in a band, and he was like transitioning, so he just had a bunch of riffs from when he wasn't in a band. So when we started that band, he just took all those, and we kind of just brought everyone else in. So they're all his riffs, and our vocalist writes lyrics, and our new drummer, he kind of just, like, he added his own drums to that. And for the new album, the way we're doing it is, like, we go into practice, so we don't have a riff written or anything. And we kind of just go into practice just saying we're going to write a new song, and we all just go into that and do it.
Nice.
Usually what it is we'll kind of just be sitting around, because for every one of our practices we go through the set that we're going to be playing, and what it is usually is either like our drummer Max will just be doing something, and then Bella will usually just start playing along with it, and that's how the more recent songs that we've been writing have been going.
Yeah, we just like build off each other so everybody can get their sound that they want in there.
Right on. And so, going off that, here in the scene of Denver, when it comes to playing shows, it's great for a lot of bands because there is a lot of support around to see a lot of these shows, but you do see kind of, I don't know if I want to say pushback, but it is harder for bands with younger members to play certain shows and like certain venues due to, we could call it red tape or their policies or what have you. But what has that been like, and how's that been for you guys to overcome that? I mean, has it been a struggle? Because it feels like the scene's getting a little bit better with that. Venues are getting better with that. But what's your guys' take?
The way I kind of see it, because when I first came into the scene, it was like really like divided in my opinion. Like the first show I ever went to at 7th Circle, you could see like clear cliques,
Right.
And you could see like the older people were hanging out in one corner, and the newer kids in the scene were hanging out in another one, and it was super divided. And I feel like a lot of that is somewhat mending, but there's always going to be in my opinion, I feel like there's always going to be some form of gap between the older scene and the younger scene, because the older scene has lived through a lot of the same things,
Right.
And one thing that's kind of bringing the two together is actually the last show we just played at the Goosetown Tavern, with CPRA starting to do every, what is it, like second Sunday of doing all ages shows, and I feel like that's something that's actually gonna fill that gap quite a bit.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really exciting. I mean, and good on CPRA for doing that, because that's an actual like really bold move.
Yeah, it is.
That helps out a lot of bands.
Yeah, because like since that show, we've had a hard time reaching an older audience, because we only have one member of the band who's over 21, so we can't play bars, and we can only play local venues that really only kids know about. So this is definitely helping us reach an older audience.
Right. And, so do you feel like there is this kind of pressure when you're at like or maybe not even just 7th Circle, but a certain venue, between that gap of having to impress like the old veterans that have been playing forever or been doing it forever? Or do you feel like because I don't know if I would say there's a tension, but do you feel like there is this type of pressure there? Or
yeah, sometimes. When you're playing for just the kids, you feel like you can just be yourself and have fun with it. But then when you're playing for the veterans and the older punks, they have more expectations than the younger ones, because the young kids are just goofy. They're just there to have a good time. And usually the older punks are there for good music and to like hang out. So you kind of have to have a balance between staying goofy but staying professional.
Right. And, I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to be in your shoes of like having your age be the thing that people will see first, and not what you play and not what you sing in the band. And so do you run into that a lot too? I mean,
I mean, just for me, like, if we're playing with, like, a band who's been playing for a while or, like, a good band, in my personal opinion, like, I just don't care. You know, like, I like to see everybody as, you know, as equals and individuals. But, like, I can definitely see where there could be some, like, tension. It's just I personally don't believe in that.
Yeah, I don't feel any tension when playing for older audiences and younger audiences, because they're all just there to hear music, and you're just there to perform for them, and they're going to appreciate whatever you give them. So
I mean, overall, the scene is very accepting of who comes, and I mean, because at the end of the day, I think we all just want songs to where we can go right in the streets and destroy windows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So your latest album, Kill the Leaders, came out last year, which I gotta let you guys know, my favorite songs off there are Nazi Folks and Kill, well, the Leaders itself. So what was that like making that album? I mean, was it an arduous process? Did you have fun with it?
We had fun with it. It was my first time ever recording. Our bassist wasn't in the band yet.
I don't know.
But when we recorded it, I played bass, and it was my first time ever recording professionally. And I just thought it was a really, really cool experience. And it was our vocalist's first time recording, too, so it was a lot of firsts for us. It was just learning.
Yeah, well, it sounds great. I mean, it's a really solid album all around.
Thanks.
I mean, you got a lot of great bangers on there, and not gonna lie, one day I was having a bad day and I was mad, and that was one of the few albums I put on. So I was like, yeah, Nazi Folks. I was like, yeah, stick it to them. So I kind of want to bring it back into a little bit more of your influences, or if you have any. Would you say that you carry strong from any sort of band or artist, or even maybe not in music, when it comes to making music or playing?
I feel like our influences are just old school hardcore punk. Like, we're just trying to kind of revamp that. So I'd say just like our vocalist, he wanted to sound like Anti-Nowhere League, and our guitarist, he wanted to sound like Black Flag, and I just wanted to sound like us, whatever we'd be. And our drummer really likes like D-beat kind of, and noise, and so we kind of just combine everything we can.
How about you, Benny? What do you think?
I can't really have a say
You're on
in
the
that.
spot.
I'm only.
You have to say something, or I'm not going to post this now.
I don't know, like.
No, I'm joking. You really don't have to if you don't want to.
I'll speak to it a little bit. Like, I feel like one of the influences that's coming at least a little bit into our music is kind of like breakdown. We're, in my opinion, I would say we're a lot more distorted than them, but
right.
You know, it's something that I'm definitely noticing, because we're having, like, you know, heavier bass riffs, and we're going into like a lot more like breakdown type stuff. I can't speak too much to it, as I've only been writing songs with them for like a month, but it's something that I've definitely been noticing a lot more.
Right on. And so, somewhat coming back to we're gonna start this whole thing over. No, coming back a little bit to your age and the aspect of, so you guys are young punks. You're into the scene. You know, how did you get into the scene, and why did you decide to go for punk? And the reason I want to ask this question is because when we usually bring bands on, especially punk bands, they've been in the scene for a long time, and they, you know, it's a long start for them. And so I figure, you know, we have our first young band. Let's ask them, what got you into punk?
Well, what got me in is I'm 16. I got in when I was about 12 or 13, and it was actually because of my stepdad. I discovered, like, I was listening to punk music by myself, and then my stepdad came in. He came from Wyoming and Texas, and he was already in the punk scenes in Wyoming and Texas.
Right.
So he came to Colorado, and I was like, I'm only 12, but I'm still going through like a rough time, as rough as it, like, rough for 12-year-olds, you know. And so I just, like, I'm looking for a place. I don't feel like I belong, and I'm really angry at everything, like
Right.
most punks are. So angsty, I know. So my stepdad brought me to my first punk show. It was Subhumans and Rotten Blue Menace, and I just saw that and I just like knew that I needed to be in the scene. It was just I don't know. It was just a feeling.
It was a calling.
Yeah,
it was a calling. Subhumans led that call.
Yeah, and at that show, there was a Nazi that showed up too.
Oh.
It was like it's an infamous show. These Nazis showed up, and everybody just like somebody jumped on stage during Rotten Blue Menace's set. And it was Pear's too. They jumped on stage during Pear's set and just started saying "Nazi punks fuck off," and then like everybody in the crowd just started like beating at the Nazi and like throwing him out, and then people like chased him outside to go beat him up outside. So that was my first punk experience. It was really intense.
Like anyone here, but Nazis were gonna beat you up.
Yeah.
Beat you in the parking lot. Right on. Do you want to share your experience, Ben?
Yeah. So. I mean, punk music's been in my life since I was born, you know. Like, I was raised on the Misfits because of my mom. Because she's been,
Well, that's over in the background. She joined today, and yeah, we probably should have made that known, is that you guys are the loyal offspring of Lala over there, and she's just all happy waving her arms, just like, yes, facts.
But yeah, it's been in the music in and of itself has been in my life since, you know, I was born. And then when I started in middle school, I started listening to like a lot more rap, and I became kind of what a lot of people call a fuckboy. In 7th grade, I was trying to be like Eminem and shit. I would only listen to rap, and it wasn't until Riot Fest of what was that? Was it 2016 when the Misfits played?
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was, you know, and that was kind of I also was kind of going through some shit where, you know, like I got bullied a lot in school, you know, and like I started making like some really poor decisions, and like, you know, that Riot Fest came up. And Nos was playing, which is a big contributor to one of the reasons I had wanted to go.
Yeah.
And it was the first Saturday, and we saw Suicidal Tendencies. And that's kind of where it all took off for me when they started playing Institutionalized.
Of course.
Because at the time, you know, like, everybody was, like, treating me like an outcast, and I was like, well, you know, maybe I'm not the one that's crazy, and that was kind of what started it out for me. And I only really went to big shows for a year or so for a long time, and it wasn't until actually I met Bella at a Potato Pirates show that I started getting into the more local scene. She took me to my first Seventh Circle show, which was actually the first Almataha show, which was that was pretty cool to see, and ever since then I've just kind of, you know, it was something that it was pretty easy for me to relate to, because, you know, everybody was a dick to me, and, you know, I had like a lot of shit going on in my life, and I was like, well, fuck it, there's other people that are fucked up too.
I mean, to hear the names like Subhumans and like Potato Pirates come from your guys' mouths, it makes me happy, because you know, everyone says that punk's dying, and like, it's not. It's just in a transition.
Yeah.
But that, of course, it makes perfect sense that you felt included with Institutionalized, but by Suicidal Tendencies. I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest ballads of like, no, I'm not crazy, you're crazy songs ever. Like, so right on, and to you too, Belle. Like, right on. Like, it's pretty awesome. And so, kind of going a little forward, you know, with these shows, and what is on Almataha's plate? What is coming up in the future for Almataha?
We are playing a music festival in Texas. We're not allowed to say the name of it.
The place in Texas, or
the name of the festival? We're not allowed.
Why not?
I don't know. It's like legal stuff or something.
They probably want to protect their IP.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we're just not allowed to say it. But it's a really big music festival in Texas. It's the one where there are like a bunch of different bands playing a bunch of different venues in Texas at once for a weekend.
Wow.
But we're playing Kick Butt Cafe, I think, in Texas in March.
Love that venue.
I know, it's so fun. And I don't think we have any shows scheduled upcoming for now, actually, because we are working on writing the new album. So.
Any ideas when the? I mean, you just said you're working on writing a new album, so it's probably down the pipeline later on. But any ideas when that might come out by chance?
It could come out by this year, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
I mean, the
February,
fact that we have 2.
Songs?
Oh yeah, we already have 2 new songs written in a month. I feel like we could definitely come out with it probably this year, but
I'd say like by winter.
You're gonna say by Wednesday?
No, not by Wednesday.
Apparently this week.
I guess we have to write 5 more songs, but yeah. I mean, we're coming up with new songs pretty quickly, and we have, in my opinion, I feel like there's a new energy that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, our sound is kind of shifting a little bit because our guitarist had to leave the band. So he kind of gave all the songwriting. He just gave us all the freedom. So It's kind of like, it's shifting into what we all want it to morph into because we're going to evolve as a band. That was our first album, and none of us had played, except for our drummer and guitarist. None of us had played before. That was our first band. We didn't. It's their first album. We don't know our sound yet. We're just kind of finding ourselves out. So our sound's going to evolve.
Well, and progress is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's just how you mold with it. You know. And so, in all respect, more power to you guys. I'm excited to hear it. Let us know when it comes out. We'll definitely throw it up on our page on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool.
We'll get some definitely get some traction around behind it. And do you have a date for the show in Texas by chance, or are you even allowed to talk about that? Or?
I know we're leaving the 16th, right? Or are we playing the 16th?
I think we're playing the 16th. I think it's March 16th and 17th.
All I know is that's in Texas.
I know that's in March in Texas. That's how on top of it I am.
That's about all the information I got.
All right, ghouls and gals in Texas, if you know what show they're talking about, keep your eyes out for Almataha. Make sure you go say hi to them and represent some potato pirates, subhumans, and Almataha gear. I mean, get yourself some gear.
Yeah.
Which you guys do got some gear for people to represent, right?
Yeah,
yes,
we do.
Actually, I used to be the merch person
for
Almataha, so I am actually really passionate about that because there were so many shows where I sat outside of 7th Circle, and it was cold as hell, and I was still sitting out there, and I was like, can somebody please just buy a patch? I actually used to put $5 in there every show because I was like, at least I feel like this amount of time was worth it.
Oh, I did get an actual message from Lala. She's sending me the name of the show, but we can't talk about it. But she got me excited about it. She just
she's waving him down.
Listeners, you gotta understand. Lala just peeked out. She's like, "Shut up! Shut up! You can't talk about it. God."
Yeah, we can't legally say it. We'll get sued or something. Something stupid.
We could make up a name for it if you won't get in trouble for that.
We could call it Ted.
Well, Ted, or we can call it the super awesome show that Almataha is playing, and that's who you want to check out.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as easily, but it's still catchy.
Yep.
So, talking about shows, talking about the scene, what I want to know is what are some so you already kind of shared a crazy story about a Nazi getting beaten up, but I want to know, do you guys have 2 more crazy stories that you can share from the punk scene here in Colorado to a show you've been or played?
So many stories.
Does it have to be in Colorado? Because we went to Firewalk last year.
It does not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was something.
Just as long as you're comfortable with it. I don't want to get you guys in trouble for anything.
No,
so.
we're good.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, there's so many shows.
Tell you what, you don't have to choose one. You can't pick 2. I'll let it go this time. It's pretty flexible.
Well, I can start with my 3rd ever punk show. It was Choking Victim.
Whoa.
Yeah, Choking Victim at the Gothic. It was sold out. The place was it was packed. You couldn't move. You literally couldn't move anywhere. And our vocalist, he wasn't our vocalist at the time, but we still knew him. During the set, our vocalist Chong kept going up to the balcony and doing flips off of it every 10 minutes. It was so cool. And this one dude at the very end, he got on stage and he stage dived and he ended up hitting his head right on a metal bar right next to it. Yeah, it sounded like he got hit in the head with a baseball bat.
Jeez.
It was crazy.
That's rough.
Yeah, and I've seen people get like beat with like skateboard decks outside of venues.
Oh yeah, like DRI.
Yeah, DRI.
That's when I will speak too. So when DRI came to Denver last, it was an insane show. I actually went there with my stepdad Lauren, and it was one of my first like thrash shows, you know.
Right.
And there was this douchebag metalhead, you know. I'm not saying anything against metalheads.
No,
I'm saying something against this specific
guy
specific metalhead. If he's listening, he'll fucking know. You're a dick. But he kept he was like hitting his girlfriend and shit, you know. And so like he was standing like right outside the pit, and so if every time like I would attempt to get out, he would like make sure and throw me back in. And so, like, you know, I personally wasn't okay with that. So, like, you know, I kept pushing him. I was like, what's up? And, like, you know, he was a complete pussy and didn't do anything. But outside the show, a bunch of skinheads actually confronted him about, like, hitting his girlfriend. And he ended up taking the skateboard deck and beating the crap out of this dude, you know.
Yeah, and then his girlfriend was trying to like help him beat up the other dude. Like, it was so weird.
Yeah, I don't know what their whole situation was, but that was definitely one of the more intense shows I've gone to.
Ooh.
That was.
You know what shows are always intense? The like shows at 7th with like really big bands like the Wheels and the Baddie.
Oh, the
when
Corrupted
the
Youth show.
Ooh, the Corrupted Youth show was so much fun. Or like when big local bands play 7th and it's packed, those are always so
All
good.
the Screw Tape shows.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stories about Screw Tape shows.
We have time if you want to share one.
So, Screw Tape was probably the second 7 show I ever went to. And mind you, this is before they completely blew up. They were still fairly big, you know. But it was a super crazy show. Like, mind you, at this time, I had only been to one 7th show. And I still thought it was a pretty small venue. And when Screw Tape went on, you know, people were already hanging from the rafters, you know, like, just, like, flailing around. And, like, people were just going insane, and that was actually one of the first hardcore shows I had went to. So that was, like, the first time I had really seen crowd killing.
Okay.
So that was definitely an experience, but Screw Tape has always put on crazy shows. Actually, the last one they played in Denver, Zion, he got on like a skateboard and was like crowd surfing, which was super dope to see. But you know, a lot of like another show that came up at 7th Circle was the Oi Scouts played with Corrupted Youth and the Bad English, and
oh wow,
yeah.
So that was pretty crazy because Corrupted Youth is one of the first street punk bands I got into. And the Oi Scouts were the first Oi band I got into. Yeah. And so, like, seeing the two of them together was, like, just so crazy. Especially because I had watched, I had recently watched that documentary called, it's like Los Punks or something like that. And it's all about...
Is that about, like, the backyard punk scene?
Yeah, about
I've seen that too.
The Los Angeles punk scene. And I saw Nacho Corrupted in it, and I was like... And then when I saw him in real life, I was like, "What?"
There he is.
I was like, I've been listening to your music for so long.
And you know, you guys have seen some crazy intense stuff, and so I mean, this is kind of normally stuff that would really scare off a lot of other people.
Yeah.
I bet this is gonna be an easy answer, but you do it all over again, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. There've been times where I have been on, like, I'm on stage in the audience, and I unwillingly get picked up and literally thrown off the stage, and like I'm on the ground and I get up and I'm like, woo, let's go back on. Like, I do all of it over again.
Yeah.
So I mean, listeners, if you're not listening to punk already and you're listening to this podcast and you're still wondering what the scene's like, I mean, we got guys and girls and kids and underage people who just want to go and like see this intense stuff and want to go every single time. So I mean, obviously there's something to it. Support your local punk band is basically what I'm getting at. And by that, we are getting to the end of this. So, where should everyone check out Almataha? Where do you want everyone to follow you guys?
Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music. I think we even have music up on YouTube. Just anywhere except for SoundCloud. I don't think we're on SoundCloud.
Dude, we should be on SoundCloud.
We should be on SoundCloud, but anywhere you can stream music, we're there.
We're on YouTube.
Yeah, I think we're on YouTube.
We need more SoundCloud punks, not SoundCloud rappers.
Yeah.
I like SoundCloud rap. I don't
No hate, I'm just saying. What about social media? Facebooks, Twitters, anything?
We have an Instagram. It's just Almataha_band, I think. And on Facebook, we're just Almataha Band. And pretty sure that's all the social media we have up right now.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to actually make a MySpace page for the hell of it.
Just keep
Just
it real.
to,
Just keep it real.
You know, if there's somebody out there
who's gonna be your
interested,
top 8.
Yeah. Keep Almataha in your top 8, fellas.
And all those links, except probably the MySpace one, you can find in the episode notes that you're listening to now, everyone. With that being said, thank you again, Almataha. Before I send you guys off, I do want to talk about really quick, and we are kind of pushing the time here, about the song that we're going to play today. Do you know what song we're going to show to our listeners off your latest album? I can pick for you. I already have.
Oh, you're asking us.
Oh, you're asking
to pick.
us.
I was like, do we have to guess?
Oh, no. We're going to turn the table down. Really?
Honestly, like, one of my favorite Almataha songs is Hypocritical Faith.
Yeah, that's a really
because
good one.
it has a nice breakdown. It's honestly just a really nice song. I also like Nazi Fucks, just like you. It's a fast song.
Yeah, if you're like, I don't know, feeling angry, listen to Nazi Fucks. But if you just want to get in like a good like thrashing or something, listen to Hypocritical Faith.
I feel like both of them are pretty angry.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this will
They're
be the
all
first
angry.
time we play 2 back-to-back songs from the
Whoa.
band. So, we'll see. Anyways, thank you again, Benny, Bella, for coming on. This has been a great interview. It's been great to talk to you guys, and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
man.
All right, podcast over. Bye. There you go, ghouls and gals. That was my interview with Bella and Benny from Almataha. It was, as you can see, I enjoyed talking to them. I enjoy getting to know them, and I mean, Suicidal Tendencies, Potato Pirates, Subhumans, like all these awesome bands were brought up, and it was just so nice to hear them coming from a younger generation. Because I mean, punk's not dead, it ain't gonna die. You can't kill it. So if you be proud of it. Let's enjoy it. So that being said, let's jump into their songs, Nazi Fucks and Hypocritical Faith. All right.
They love and forgive all. Only a few confess and fall. Fears to bow, act for days. Pieces till you submit to mercy. Jesus died, stay on the cross. Out of my life, not fucking lost. Christianity's bullshit, drug cold bull. Pray to God, like God's about to fall. Be with the Bible, I don't care. Nothing but fiction with the robes you wear. Preach that yell at my entire life. The freedom of religion was our own right. Nail me down to your cross. Your bodies and freedoms have all been lost. Preachers and their clever ways, taking money, oppressing the gays. You will die, thinking you're safe. When you are dead, you just stay in your grave and laugh in your face at your hypocrisy. Church and state take rights from thee. Keep singing your hymns of false hope. Dying is around, neck with the road. Be with the Bible, I don't care. Nothing but fiction with the robes you wear. Preach that yelled at my entire life. The freedom of religion was our own right. My body, my freedom lie still holds, while you are shaped into their law. Death, rape, violence, hypocrisy, wars, bombs, weapons, innocence, death, and freedom have all been lost. My body, my freedom I still hold, while you are shaped into their fall. Gnarly, permanently, get her, fucking us, when it gets blown, shoot, give it blown, slow, we don't really think it was like lemon all night, and get much, remember, how do you think so much shit, go to shit, afraid to face off, losing events, where you're wrong, where it came, run to your mommy, sucking on the grave, Nazis, out of fun, Nazis, out of face, Nazis, kill yourself, Nazis, out of fun, Nazis, out of face, Nazis, kill yourself. Racist fuck, you know me, frustrated, fucking enemy, used around your neck, knocking on his boots, throw you in the river with your racist roots, stupid shit like ailing everywhere, so I'm gonna go on here, passing out chair, pass to the White House, Steve Miller too, really think I'll give a fuck about you. Nazis, out of fuck, Nazis, out of my face,